Was that a point gained or two dropped after being in a winning position?
I'll probably tell you on Saturday, Rob, after the game. I think if we get the 3 points on Saturday and make sure we win that home game against Rochdale, it'll probably be a good point. I think obviously taking the league is important. We spoke about that in previous games. It gives you a platform. I've only got two frustrations from tonight. One is that the manner that we conceded. To lose the first contact is one thing, but then to allow a free header from the second contact in the box is unacceptable. But we were just a little bit untidy and a little bit loose in the second half with our passing. And first half, I thought we were great. I thought we played very well, and probably could have gone in a couple up. And I think they had a little bit of territory in terms of possession in the second half and a little bit of pressure. But Alex had nothing to do. He never had a say to make. He probably had to come and collect 2 or 3 crosses. He had nothing to do. Everything was in front of us. So when we won the ball back, I think what was happening too many times in that second half, we just kept giving the ball away. And I'm not talking about players who can't play. I'm talking about some of our really talented players. And that was the thing that I think was the reason why we only drew the game and didn't win the game. Having said all that, I thought the last 5 minutes plus stoppage time, we looked like the side that was going to win it. So there's a bit of frustration, definitely, but there is a lot of positives to take from it as well.
You talked there about the territory they were gaining. As you say, it was all played in front of you, but they did have a lot of the ball in that second half. Was that always the plan, or was that something you always expected coming into the second 45 after how well you'd done in the first 45 to contain that?
Yeah, I mean, I think when you're behind, it's easy to play when you're behind. There's no doubt about that. You have to sort of take the game by the scruff of the neck, and they've got nothing to lose as such. So we expected that a little bit, and we wanted it. If I'm being honest, Rob, we wanted that because we knew on the turnover with a little bit of quality we can hit them fast, and like we sort of did at times in that first half. And obviously the pace, of the 2 wide boys and Colin in that full-back area. And then even with sort of like Callum coming on towards the end of the game to try and stretch them, we were quite happy with them having the ball in front of us. But, what we weren't happy about is our some decision making and, giving the ball away in silly little areas, which, was quite frustrating.
And what do you put that down to?
Maybe a little bit of fatigue, but I won't say that to the players. Just use it as an excuse. But the reality is we are a small group. Obviously, we've not been able to fill the bench again today. And I think especially in that sort of midfield area, in that central midfield area, obviously we're having to play Teo in there. And, we haven't really got anyone off the bench to affect it. We tried to sort of change it up a little bit when we made a couple of substitutions and brought Brennan in as a number 10. And I think that did sort of change it a little bit and allowed us to get out a bit more. But, we're a little bit limited at the minute, which is where we're at. There's no complaints. It's just, where we're at. And we just keep working to try and pick up the points and see where we end up.
Yeah, when I was speaking to James Jones, I said that maybe a couple of weeks ago when confidence was a little bit more fragile, that would have been a game maybe you would have lost, a bit like Plymouth, where things turned against you. Do you think that this is a sign that you're starting to get back to where we saw you a few months ago, and that you're not going to be a team that are going to be easy to beat or easy to suddenly capitulate?
Well, hopefully. We haven't lost many games this season, and we're into the 32nd, 30th game, whatever it may be. So, I don't think they're a group that are easily beaten. I think what they are, they're a very young group, and they can switch off at times, and their concentration levels can drop. But that comes with being a young group. That's just where we're at. We're not. And I've got no sort of apologies of that. The reality is the experienced players that we do have in our squad, unfortunately, are injured at this moment in time, and that's just it. And people are going to have to accept that, and we accept that as a group. But I think you're right. They were very resolute. I think there was a disappointment at conceding and the way that we conceded. I thought they handled that disappointment pretty well. And like I said to you, Alex has had nothing to do. He's had nothing to do in the game. So that's the bit when I'm going home tonight and heading back to Lincoln and probably going to be pulling my hair out thinking, we came here and, we've weathered a little bit of pressure in the second half. But, ultimately we should be sort of going away with 3 points, really.
As you said earlier, you're not going to see if this is a good point until what happens at the weekend. I'm sure what happens next Tuesday against Gillingham. But when you play against some of these teams that are in and around you, you've kept that gap that kept them at 10 points. It's a nice buffer, isn't it, to keep them at? Otherwise, it could have been 7. They'd still have a game in hand on you.
Absolutely, yeah. And, I think I said it probably about 6 or 7 weeks ago. If I did say it to you guys, definitely mentioned it to the players where, if you can't win, you try and take a point from a game. And even more so against the teams that are around us, because every point is going to be crucial. You've seen how tight the league is. The reality is, the longer the season goes on, the more games that gets played. Those teams that you would expect to be in that top 6, all of a sudden are starting to emerge, and that's a fact. That's just life. That's just where we're at. It'll be unbelievable, for us as a group and a club to continue to compete with them, and I'm sure we will, because I think we've got the quality to do it.
And for people who might have missed the latest on George Grant, what's the situation there?
Well, it's slightly more positive. Yeah, slightly more positive. We're being told that from the sort of date of injury, no surgical, so there's no surgery needed, which is positive. And we're being told from the date of the injury, it's going to be a 6 to 8 week period. So I don't want to get people's hopes up, but there is a small possible opportunity that we might see before the end of the season.
And again, like those other injured players, as much as you'd love to have them available to you now, there are going to be some fresh legs that will become available to you as we enter the final stages.
Absolutely, and the good thing is, certainly at this time of the year, and I've been here before, is that we've got all those sides around us that are sort of picking up points and making a bit of a push and a surge to go. We've got to play them all. So it's great, it's in our own hands as such. We've got to go and play Peterborough, we've got to play Hull again, we've got to play Sunderland, we've got all these teams that are in and around it, and they're the type of games you want to be involved in. They're the type of games you want to be playing in and being part of, and it's hopefully going to be an exciting 5 or 6 weeks.